David is trying to tell me Simon's got Eddie in trouble here. Eddie's legs are wobbling. Simon's hitting with snippy, snappy verbal jabs. Do you feel as if you're in trouble, Mr. Hearn?
Really? I mean, I wish you would have kept the conversation going off there as well. We haven't stopped, but I'm enjoying it, and I just.
You're getting very personal with each other off here, I'm going to say.
Not really.
In
not
here.
Personal. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of what he's saying.
No, but
ultimately,
he's saying silly things, right? What he believes is that if someone puts him on the spot and asks a pointed question and doesn't let it go, and then dissects his answer and disseminates the information, that's somehow controversial.
No, what I said to you was, you've got 3 or 4 things factually incorrect, which you completely failed to acknowledge.
I don't
because
accept
in your world, you run boxing, you are the governing body. No. You are the British Boxing Board of Control.
Not at all. That's
I work in this sport every single day. I wouldn't come to you and say, ultimately, this is how mobile phones work, or this is how Crystal Palace works. That's your field.
Absolutely.
My field is I do this every single day.
You underestimate.
You're coming out with facts that you think
common sense involved in all businesses, Eddie. I know.
Common sense when it's a regulatory.
There's common sense.
There's one listener saying, "Listen, guys, I'm loving this, but when they both talk at the same time, we can't hear."
If you've got strong personalities, you're going to talk at the same time.
What I want to do is put this to you, Eddie, just to confirm: you cannot pull a fight which involved drug boxers without the board doing so. Is that right? So as a promoter, you can be promoting a fight against your will with doped fighters.
You wouldn't be against your, ultimately, contractually, the board make a decision whether they sanction the fight.
Yeah, but you have the relationship with the fighter.
Simon, you're completely disregarding the contractual issue of the only way that
you can drop that. No, hold on.
Could be pulled.
You'd have to promote it, do you?
Well, of course I've got an obligation. I've got a POS with a fighter to promote that fight. I can't breach that agreement if the British Boxing Board of Control sanctions the fight. Let me ask you the question.
If you've got a fighter, and I will ask it again because I don't know why this seems to have evaded you, but you've got a fighter that's signed to you that will have a condition, I'm assuming, that if he brings himself into disrepute, or you into disrepute alongside it, right, that you will have a right to step away. You don't have that.
Because that right of disrepute is under the regulatory arm of the British Boxing Board of Control. Let me finish.
Yeah.
If a fighter fails to be sanctioned by the British Boxing Board of Control, we will have a clause within the agreement to individually terminate that agreement. It's all done.
You had a moral choice.
We didn't. We had no moral choice. We had a legal choice.
Right.
The British Boxing Board of Control will decide whether the fight is going to be sanctioned.
You're positioning this, even though you continued with this with a second failed test on the 23rd of September.
We didn't continue. We waited for the board to make their decision.
And you know full well, and you do know full well, that the board were put in a position, and I'm not here to defend the board because I'm the first person. No, hang on. I'm the one that walks around calling the British Boxing Board a no control. I'm the one that went after them for their appalling performances over Jack Catterall, their appalling performances over Bradley Skeets. I've had as much to say about other people as I have about you, so you need to get over your victims complex about everyone centres on you. You operate as a gold chip promoter, wonderful, £60 million turnover, £12 million profit, lovely dividends. You're a big boy, right? No one's got a conspiracy theory against you, mate. What they're trying to do is one of the biggest events in boxing is make people accountable, because I think you're accountable. I think you should be sanctioned by the British Boxing Board of Control, because I think you and Cali, on the basis of the fact that you try to get a fight on.
Under the basis.
You try to get this fight on.
No, under the basis, Simon, that the British Boxing Board of Control were made aware of the test results on the same day that we were.
Correct.
And ultimately were given their position of what they have to do, which is decide whether they sanction the fight or not.
Simon has touched on something there already. Now, you have admitted that after the drug test failure was revealed, and we were all on it. We were on it. We were right across it in here. The fight's going to get scrubbed. He's not going to go in, Conor Benn, against Chris Eubank Jr. You said earlier, you came out and you made a mistake by saying we were considering all our options. You didn't shut it down then, Eddie.
Yeah, I shut it down.
And when you said considering all your options, one of your options was hoping that the fight would still go ahead, right?
Only if we chose to go down that route, of which we decided not to. Ultimately, this fight could have happened. I made the decision for it not to happen. Now, Simon can say, it's because my dad told me so. Absolute rubbish. I sat there, I thought about it, I let the ego calm down, the madness calm down. And, when you talk about the money side, the 5 weeks that the board took to make the decision cost us £1 million. No problem. Like Simon says, we're big boys. I wish they would have made the decision straight away. And by the way, it would have been the correct decision. And we would have dealt with it.
Do you think it's a good contract? Just out of curiosity, let's just go down your route and subscribe to your point of view. Because you asked me, you said to me from the outset, I did precisely what you would have done. You didn't, right? And then
I did.
But then you tell me, hang on, you don't know what I would have done.
Go on then, tell us.
And second of all, in the next breath, you tell me I don't know what I'm doing because this isn't a game I would
have
done.
Tell us what you would have done.
You couldn't have done
what
I would have done.
Tell us what you would have done.
What I would have done is I'd have had a contract with my fighter in place.
Hindsight.
Do you need the answer?
No. Go on.
Best in class doesn't need hindsight, do they?
Go on.
You're the best in class, aren't you?
True.
Right. So then you don't need hindsight, do you?
Let's hear it.
So with that in mind, you've got a situation where you've got fighters. I would have signed them to a contract which basically prohibited them from bringing me into any space or any place that compromises any outcome or damages my business. And a drug test being failed, whether it's a voluntary mandatory scheme, right, would have brought me into that space. And that would have put me in a position where I, as the promoter, had a choice to whether I continued to go on with this fight or find reasons alongside Kali Sauron to get this fight on and push back and create influence and be a powerful person that's licensing fees, help fund the British Boxing Board of Control, and all that needs to be changed as well. And legislation needs to be put in place so they've got some teeth with you guys. And that's what I would have done. So that's different to what you've done, right?
Okay. Now, the reality of the situation, not, you didn't like the word hindsight, is that our contracts with the fighters are dependent on sanction from the British Boxing Board of Control. I'm not saying that your idea of what maybe should be in a contract following this event is not correct. I'm just telling you, so you can acknowledge my position, that everything regarding the sanction of a fight or of a fighter is
dependent
based
on
a British, and that's truth. I can't, so
bad contract, isn't it?
Not necessarily, but maybe
but
looking back on this,
got you in a stuck, isn't it?
Listen,
it's cost you half a bar, isn't it?
It's more.
£1 million.
Yeah, about that. It's fine.
What did it cost you altogether, Eddie? How much did it cost?
£1 million.
£1 million?
Yeah, about that. I mean, but it's...
Mr. T and Ken says he's a big fight fan.
Actually, not
Eddie, this is a load of rubbish. Anyone with any sense would have pulled a contract for immediately bringing the fight game into disrepute.
This is one thing that you know inside out, right? Contractually, completely impontactually for me. If you acknowledge of what I've just said...
If I acknowledge that, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I mean, I'm happy to share that.
And that's a fair comment.
Okay. Contractually, legally, I have no position at all other than let the board make their decision. Do you acknowledge that?
I do. But ask the question, because I can't get from you or anyone else. Why would the board want to put themselves in this awful invidious position?
I think they had a difficult decision.
To fanny about. Well, it's not a difficult decision, is it?
It is because...
They regularly sanction people. They get people in front of them for doping.
Finish your question.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
So why would, in your view, besides a difficult decision, and that's what they're paid to do, and that's Robert Smith's job, and that's the board's responsibility, why would the board take from the 23rd of August, which is when the first adverts come in, all right, on the back of the voluntary mandatory testing regime. Wait, the second one goes out on the 30th. You do a UCAT test in the middle of it, which gives you a negative, which you like. And it suits your argument, right? But you've still got two failed ones, and that could be cycles. Yeah. We all know that, right? So we get onto the 23rd of September. There's another one, right? Why would the board put... Cause you know these people. You are fund them. Why would... these people be in such an invidious situation for 7 weeks they can't make a decision? I think it's because they were put under immense pressure. No. I think there was cease and desist put upon them, and I think they should have had more teeth, is what I think.
I think they also had the issue of precedence around the VADA testing. And you're not acknowledging that, but they have, through that whole process, confirmed several times, and actually in the Dillian White situation, that they do not acknowledge VADA testing. Simon,
but that's not true, Eddie.
No, it is true.
They acknowledge VADA testing in the advent of an adverse analytical finding.
Want me to show you,
please do.
Where I will.
Please do, mate.
I will. Where they confirm in that instance, that fight, they do not acknowledge.
When was this?
The Billy Joe Saunders
incident. 2 years ago? Yeah, but okay. So they precedent.
Eddie,
they haven't changed since then.
The WBC.
Okay, their rules have not changed.
Well, that'll be clear.
That'll
be clear.
On this, the WBC have said, this could have been caused by a highly elevated consumption of eggs. Right? You go with that.
You know I don't go with that. You've heard me talk, and Conor Benn doesn't go with that. There are issues.
Well, what do you think to that? What do you think to that?
What?
Did you expect the WBC to be a witness for the defence?
I expected...
Because that's what they were, weren't they?
No, ultimately, again, I go through this. I wasn't on one call, 1 second.
Have you read the 270-page report?
No, I've read a number of the key points. Right? Which...
What do you think to it?
I think it's very concerning.
About what? About the accredited laboratory that's a WADA attested one that's failed its obligations?
About a number of things. Some things that were said in the Piers Morgan interview. There's a lot of things that happened.
Where's the B samples, Eddie?
The B samples? What do you mean? Where's the B samples?
Where's the B samples for the 23rd of July test?
They've been tested.
Have they?
Yes.
We've never seen the results, have we?
You have, because you heard about the problems with the accreditation, as you just said then. You talked. If you listen to the Piers Morgan,
that's in a 270-page report.
No, the Piers Morgan interview is pretty clear.
Have they?
Yes, they have.
Nobody's talked about
yes,
it. You said, hang on, you said the other day the reasons why they didn't have the B samples was because there was the outcomes on the 23rd of September. You were asked in an interview, where's the B samples? And you said, they've only just got the results from 2 weeks ago. They haven't got the B samples yet. That's what you said. That's your own words.
No, I mean,
that's your own words.
No.
Secondly, you can get B samples tested within 24 hours, and you know it. No. And the tests from the 23rd of July have had 8 weeks for the B samples.
You have to send a representative to have that test, and there's all issues around that, which Conor Benn talked about in the interview with him. I'm not here to defend Conor Benn's 270-page document. What I will tell you about the WBC findings are they asked him to provide all his dietary requirements, exactly what he consumed in relation to the trace elements that were found in the test and the tests around that were clear by various other bodies, including VADA and UKAD. They came up with a reason.
But you know Conor's biggest problem. You know what it is, don't you? It's strict liability, isn't it? That's his biggest problem, right? His biggest problem is it doesn't matter how you got in your system, you've got to account for it. And if you can't account for it, then your next best alternative is to prove no intent, right? Because the standard straight out of the gate UKAD position and British Boxing Board position is you've got something in your system, strict liability, which is different from WBC nonsense, which is irrelevant. They've got no jurisdiction. He's got a 4-year ban coming down the pike. The best thing you can do is appeal that and maybe get 2.
No, you need to prove of a contamination.
Strict liability.
No. There's been many other incidents where fighters haven't been banned by proving a contamination or a failing in the process.
And there's been many when it hasn't happened.
Absolutely.
Much more.
I acknowledge that.
Conor, as you say, Eddie,
a fighter that you mentioned earlier, in exactly the same position, you talk about strict liability, found and proven by UKAD of contamination in a test.
You're talking about Dillian?
Yes.
Right. But Eddie, guys, that was a VADA test that did that.
What you're both unaware of,
we
haven't scrubbed the ad breaks.
But they're the same thing,
Simon, we haven't scrubbed the ad breaks. We're going to take one, then we'll come back to that Piers Morgan interview.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.